Hello there, my name is Triple S, and in this video I'm going to point-by-point review Season 2, Episode 3 of the Fallout TV show. Let's begin. Point number 1. Hey, we finally get to see our boy Thaddeus and what he's been up to since we last saw him in Season 1. And he seems to be doing quite well for himself at managing a bottle cap sweatshop of ghoul and smooth-skinned children. Good for him. Speaking of ghouls, this does seem to confirm that he is in fact now a ghoul, since many people were speculating the liquid given to him by the chicken fucker salesman in Season 1 Episode 7 might have been some form of FEV, and Thaddeus was turning into a type of super mutant rather than a ghoul. Point number 2. Alright, I'm back to now wondering what this slave woman's deal was in willingly returning to the Legion. Did she not know it was immediate death to return without her legionary? Was she just hoping she wouldn't be punished? And I don't think she was hoping bringing Lucy to the Legion would stave off any punishment, since in the last episode she told Lucy she should go home, though by that point they'd already been spotted by the Legion, so all I can think is that she really must have been hooked on the nuka aid of the Legion. Point number 3. I love how despite how wholesome and innocent Lucy appears to be, in reality, she is a whole lot more wild, and that wild side comes through sometimes. I mean, the cousin stuff would fill a page or two of her resume at least. Chet, you goddamn lucky son of a bitch, no wonder you tried to sabotage her wedding. Point number 4. I feel I hit the nail on the head in my video talking about the last episode that this Caesar's Legion are remnants and also pretenders. Because we have two separate Caesars controlling two separate Caesar's legions, fighting over the corpse of a third Caesar, supposedly Edward Sallow, the Caesar we all know and hate from the New Vegas game, because he has a note in his pocket supposedly naming his successor, despite everyone who has ever played New Vegas knowing Caesar's successor to be Legate Lanius. So is Lanius also dead? But in New Vegas he can only die after Caesar, so how would Caesar be able to name a different successor? Maybe this corpse could actually be Lanius, who took on the mantle of Caesar after the death of Edward Sallow. Or could Lanius just be chilling out east, controlling the actual Caesar's Legion after the events of New Vegas? And these two legions still in the Mojave are, like I said, just remnants playing at pretend, fighting over a corpse that most likely isn't even Edward Sallow despite it wearing a displacer glove. This would explain why Cooper said to the slave woman in the last episode that she's awful far west, because he knows the Legion, the actual Legion, to currently all be in the east. Point number 5. Flipping the screen, we can see the note in the Caesar corpse's pocket says, I am, and presumably the next word is the. And this has the religion part of my brain tingling. Not that I am religious, I just know a bunch about religion. I'm like Emma Thorne but a dude. And seeing just I am makes me think of God saying as much to Moses in Exodus, and the next part, I am the, brings to mind God saying, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Which you might recall as being from Revelation 21:6, which is Catherine's, the Lone Wanderer's mum's, favourite verse in Fallout 3. I know it is highly unlikely the note is actually referencing parts of the Bible, but I find it fun to think about. That the I am part makes sense when you consider Caesar called himself the son of Mars, who was the god of war, essentially calling himself a god. And Caesar calling himself the Alpha and the Omega makes sense since he started the Legion, and upon his death, as Howe says in New Vegas,
the Legion's aggression will outlive Caesar. Indeed, they'll try to take the dam as a tribute to his memory. Given a year, they'd have him deified. But by then, the Legion will be breaking down, riven by internal conflicts, a monster consuming itself.
Just like we see in the show, if indeed again you consider the legions we see in the show to actually be the real Legion, and not just remnants playing at pretend like I do, with the real Legion instead existing out east. Point number 6. The military part of my brain that exists next to the religion part of my brain. Though, again, not that I am in the military, I just know a bunch about it. Just cannot accept that any manned towers will be allowed to exist so close to this border, where anyone up there can see everything the other side is doing. Like, this guy up here could just enter VATS and shoot Macaulay Culkin in the head at any point during his conversation with Lucy. Also, Macaulay Culkin's character is called the Lacerta Legate, and Lacerta is Latin for lizard. Point number 7. Did anyone else think at first that Cooper was about to put his hat on dog meat? Anyone? No one? Just me? Okay. Point number 8. I wonder what the significance is behind Cooper somewhat referencing the ship of Theseus to Dogmeat, saying she already knows all of this. Specifically what the significance of it means to him, for him to decide to bring it up. Because in a meta sense, the thought experiment applies to the theme of the episode, but in regards to the pile of wood left over, still being referred to as the ship of Theseus. Despite it now no longer being a ship but just a pile of wood, and the original ship no longer even actually existing, because the wood wasn't even being replaced as it was being removed. And you can apply this to so many of the Wastelands factions. Can the NCR remnants Cooper later meets even still be called the NCR? What about the rival legions and even the various Brotherhood chapters? Are they all still their own original ships, or are they now just piles of wood, deluding themselves into believing they are? The NCR remnants still see themselves as NCR, despite Cooper saying the NCR is no more. The two legions base their legitimacy on the belief the corpse they're fighting over is that of the original Caesar, and Quintus incorporates God into his retelling of the actions of Roger Maxon to bolster the legitimacy of his own religious chapter and his righteous cause. They all see themselves as still being connected to the original, but are they really, or are they now just all piles of wood? Point number 9. House's line to Cooper in the toilets of,
"Everyone trying to solve the same problem at the same time, the multitude of solutions. Messy, messy."
reminds me of Maximus saying to Lucy in Season 1, Episode 5,
Everyone wants to save the world, they disagree on how.
This is exactly why House in New Vegas the game wanted you to recruit or take out certain factions. Too many cooks in the kitchen and all that. When House wants to be the only one in the room controlling everything so it all turns out perfectly. Point number 10. So it would appear that this big ass map behind Quintus here is actually based on a fan-made map created by DeviantArt user PLKP1830, who also goes by Polak P on Reddit. I'm not going to go much into it, but there are telltale signs that Polak P's map was used for creating the big ass map for this set. The most obvious being the inclusion of a location called Siri's Town. In New Vegas the game, there is a Legion slave woman called Siri who says she came from a settlement in New Mexico that the Legion burned down. Polak P included this location on their map, naming it Siri's Town, and that same location name appears on Quintus's map in the same general location.
Coincidence? I think not!
Point number 11. The research center in California Quintus mentions is of course the Mariposa military base, a major location in the first Fallout game and the birthplace of the Master and his super mutants. As the depraved experiments on human subjects Quintus mentions were Westech testing FEV, Forced Evolutionary Virus, the vats of green goo. Shame though Quintus had to inject God playing a factor in Roger Maxon rebelling against the Westech scientists along with his men, as everything we know about Roger Maxon doing what he did wasn't because he chose God over governments, but just because he had a conscience and respect for his fellow man. So if Quintus just stuck to the facts and didn't embellish his story to align more with the religious nature of his own chapter, he might have actually been able to convince the Yosemite chapter elder. Point number 12. Xander mentions to Maximus that the Brotherhood has been on the verge of civil war before, and there has actually been 2 times the Brotherhood has experienced internal conflict. The obvious being the schism of Owen Lyons' East Coast Brotherhood chapter in Fallout 3, where a sizable portion didn't approve of Lyons' running of the chapter and so broke away, becoming the Brotherhood outcasts. A second, more obscure internal conflict is mentioned in the Maxon archive terminal found in the Citadel in Fallout 3. Under the entry for Arthur Maxon, the last living descendant of the Brotherhood of Steel founder Roger Maxon, it reads, "Recent internal conflict amongst the Western Brotherhood of Steel created an unsafe environment for the child. It was believed that the Citadel, despite being located in hostile territory, would increase his probability of survival." I myself believe that the civil war Xander was most likely referring to was the schism of Owen Lyons' chapter, with it being the most recent Brotherhood civil war, which was actually ended by none other than Arthur Maxon. Also, fun fact, this might not be the first time the schism has been referenced in a New Vegas setting, as the character Veronica actually says this to the Courier in the New Vegas game.
"We've had people go rogue, though, and start helping people. One chapter had a small civil war over it. We take our isolationism seriously."
It's not confirmed that she was 100% referring to the schism, but I'd like to believe she was. Point number 13. See, this is a big reason why I don't think these 2 legions are the actual legion. Because if Cooper knows about the legion, which he obviously does, how does he not know that there are two rival Caesars? I mean, it can't be a recent development because they're fighting over the supposed corpse of Edward Sallow, who has been dead a long time based on the fact he's just a skeleton under all those feathers. So how would Cooper not know? Point number 14. Here we see Cooper visiting a well-known location from New Vegas the game, Camp Golf, though things do look a little different. Most notably, the position of the sign has been moved, and interestingly, the show has opted to remove the portion that says house. I wonder why. Also, Cooper saying he's going to need Lucy down the line, I can imagine he might be referring to dealing with her dad, and or because she's a vaultee, she can help him gain access to vaults, like she did at Vault 24. Since, of course, he's checking vaults to try and find his family. Point number 15. Well, howdy there, Victor, fancy seeing you here. Though saying that, you do have a habit of just popping up out of nowhere, which is probably what Cooper's line of, I'm sure you will, when Victor says, well, I'll be seeing you, is referring to. So here's hoping for Victor to make another appearance. Though saying that, again, we probably will actually see Victor and Cooper interact again, but it'll most likely be in a pre-war scene, since Victor references Cooper being involved in House wanting the Cold Fusion doodad. So that's mind control tech, Cold Fusion, and the platinum chip House has been involved with. That's a lot of fingers in a lot of perfectly preserved pies. Side note, Victor here isn't voiced by his New Vegas voice actor William Sadler, but instead by fellow New Vegas voice actor Jesse Birch, who I would say did a good job. I would not have known the voice actor was different if I didn't look it up. Point number 16. I love that these propaganda posters are just ripped straight from the game, so here we can literally see a New Vegas NCR soldier model from the game. Point number 17. I wonder how truthful Xander is being here that without Cold Fusion, the Commonwealth Brotherhood will fall. I mean, people have been arguing over what ending of New Vegas the show will be going with, but also, which ending of Fallout 4 is the show going with? We can presume shooting down the Pridwin and massacring the Commonwealth Brotherhood hasn't happened, because we see the Pridwin in Season 1, Episode 1. That is, if you do believe it is the exact same Pridwin from Fallout 4 and not a different airship with the same name, or a production mistake. In any case, if the show was going to go with the Pridwin being shot down, surely the other chapters would be less worried about going to war with the Commonwealth Brotherhood, and Xander's description of what is happening in the Commonwealth would be a lot worse. So I think it's very possible Xander was either just straight up lying or majorly exaggerating about the state of the Commonwealth Brotherhood. And more than likely the show will just be going with the idea that the various Fallout 4 factions are all stuck in a stalemate, so as to avoid making any one ending canon. Point number 18. Neat touch having the EMS signal detector screen the same as the Pip-Boy map screen from the games with the location icons and everything. Point number 19. Cooper says the fall of Shady Sands happened over 20 years ago, which, with this episode taking place in 2296, would mean the fall happened before 2276. Though, as we all know from looking at character ages and Vault 4's Blackboard timeline, that the fall began in 2277 with the nuking of Shady Sands happening in 2283. So I just think Cooper was exaggerating when he said it happened over 20 years ago. Probably intentionally to drive home the point of the ridiculousness of the amount of years these NCR remnants have been holding out hope. Point number 20. I find it hilarious Rodriguez here says that the Legion has them boxed in, as well as Lacerta Leggett telling Lucy they are at war with the NCR. Like, neither of these statements appear to be true at all. The Legions aren't boxing anyone in while they're currently fighting each other, and when Cooper tells Lacerta he knows where the last of the NCR is hiding, Lacerta looks shocked like it's the first time he's heard about NCR hiding nearby. If the NCR are hiding, how can the Legion have them boxed in, and if the Legion has the NCR boxed in, then how can the NCR be hiding? It just doesn't compute in my mind, and it really feels like these two factions are still just stuck in the motions of what you'd expect from them in New Vegas the game. Like, they were coded to behave this way and they can't escape it. They're trapped in their walk cycles and dialogue options. Literal NPC behavior. Point number 21. Cooper, you dropped one of the vials. Cooper, go back, you dropped a vial. Cool. Well, maybe Dogmeat will go back and pick it up for him. Point number 22. Am I going insane, or did anyone else think this malfunctioning Securitron sounded a lot like Claptrap from Borderlands? Like, instead of a Securitron, literal Claptrap was going to come wheeling around the corner. Point number 23. Alright, I hate to be that guy, but I think this fight between the Securitron and Xander looked goofy as hell. What with how he's missing so bad with his super sledge, and the awkward cut between him jumping into the air and then landing. The rest being pretty jank, I get. Like, I can't imagine it's easy to walk wearing all that both in-universe and IRL. But just those moments in particular with him missing and jumping just left me with a feeling of they could have done that better. Point number 24. So most likely the night before he went into the camp to get Lucy, Cooper rigged up the dynamite he looks at when leaving to explode. Which obviously would lead to him getting some good karma, but the question is, did he balance out his good karma gain with bad karma by actually selling out the NCR remnants? Or did he gain even more good karma by lying to Lacerta and the false Caesar about where the last NCR are hiding? Cooper redemption arc? Becoming a guy his family would like when he finds them, as Lucy suggested in the last episode? Anyway, I can see Cooper doing this good deed backfiring in that it might actually unite the two legions against him. Or, at the very least, whichever side prevails will set out to hunt him and Lucy down in revenge. And I wonder if we'll actually get to see the contents of the corpse's note, with it maybe being found and read after the battle. Point number 25. I really don't know what Thaddeus and Maximus are freaking out about here. Don't they know kids are set to Essential and can't die? Point number 26. Well, that's a wrap on Harkness. Didn't actually think he was going to be such a one and done character. I was speculating all kinds of speculations about him possibly not even being actually from the Commonwealth Brotherhood, that he might have ended up turning out to be an agent of Mr. House or the Enclave, or hell, he might have been revealed to have been a synth sent by the Institute, with his last name being a meta-reference to Harkness the Synth from Fallout 3. But alas, he is no more, though at least now Thaddeus gets to have his own set of power armor. Point number 27. Some things to note about this missile bunker. It's obviously connected to Mr. House, and I wonder if it's also connected to the old nuclear test site location in New Vegas the game, which one of Mr. House's favourite snow globes, the test site snow globe, is also connected to. Also, I think it would have been a neat touch if they gave this card playing skeleton the dead man's hand of 2 pair of black aces and black 8s, but alas, they did not. Also, these containers which say something chow, I can't make out the first word, it really looks like they have a picture of Fallout 4 dog meat on them, don't you think? And finally, at the top of the silo, am I going mad, or does this corpse look like it's wearing a white glove society mask? To round all this off, I would say my favourite part of the entire episode was seeing Victor again. It gave me such nostalgia for the first time I ever stepped out of Doc Mitchell's house and spotted this cool looking robot with a cowboy on its TV screen just wheeling along. If only he could have joined Cooper here, but alas, just like in New Vegas the game, he cannot become a companion. And my most disliked part of the entire episode was part of the Xander Securitron fight. The very obvious swings and misses with the super sledge and the very awkward cut between Xander flying through the air and then landing. It just could have been done so it didn't look as goofy is all I'm saying. Thank you all everyone for watching. If you enjoyed the video, and I hope you did, give it a like to let me know. And if you want to see more, then make sure to subscribe. Thank you all so much again for watching. I've been Triple S, you've all been amazing, and I shall see you all in the next video.